Hey, welcome to the 468th episode of Just Shoot It, a podcast about filmmaking, screenwriting, and directing. This episode is brought to you by patron Daniel Alexander Stebbins. I'm Matt Unlow.
And I'm Oren Kaplan, and today we have Geremy Jasper on the podcast. He is the director of a movie called Odessa that is on Hulu right now, streaming. It stars Sadie Sink. It is a rock musical, I guess, because they do have dialogue. It's not 100% singing, but it's awesome. It's super stylized. It's kind of this crazy movie. It's pretty epic. And he also, I think we knew him from his first movie, Patty Cakes, that was like a hit at Sundance a few years ago about a rapper. And he comes from the music video world. He's directed a lot of music videos that for big bands that you have heard of and artists that you've heard of. And it was really fun talking to him. We kind of just talked about how you get a movie like this made, how you get Sadie Sink to be in it, how you get it financed, how you shoot it. I feel like we kind of had a little traditional, like, where did this start and where did this end type of order, which is very
kind of
unnatural for us.
Kind of a real regular old podcast for us.
Yeah. We went in order.
And the thing that I was the most curious about was like, the tone is really specific, right? Like, Oren, you said there's music to it. It's very stylized, all that stuff. And so, like, how do you get every party on board? Like from the studio to your actors, to your production designers. We learned that, you're shooting internationally. There's all sorts of, it's hard enough to make just a regular old movie. And as we talk with Geremy, the layers of complexity and intrigue kind of stack on top of one another. And so it's pretty cool. I had a great time talking with him.
Yeah. Before we hop into that conversation, I wanted to tell you, Matt, tomorrow is my final day shooting that job. I don't think I've never mentioned who the client is, right?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah. So regular listeners of the podcast might know about my saga of my shoot that I brought to LA, and then we had...
For people that means March 18th, you will wrap.
Oh, yes. Well, yes. If everything goes well, if everyone's appendices stay in place, who knows? But yeah, we're shooting, we ended up shooting kind of the backgrounds a few weeks ago. And now luckily we got like the whole band back together to shoot all the foreground stuff on green screen tomorrow. So yeah, I was at the pre-light today at St. Patrick's Day. So it was cool to be on the green screen on St. Patrick's Day. And yeah, otherwise we would have shot blue screen, obviously. But yeah, I'm excited. And it's fun because people that listen to the podcast know about this saga. And a friend of our DPs, she said she actually got the audition for my project and she turned it down because she did not like the rate, but which is totally understandable.
Yeah, sure.
But she said that if she would have known that it was me directing it, that she listens to the podcast and she's like, oh, I would have done it if I knew Oren was directing it. So,
well, that is a bummer that like people don't know who's directing the commercials that they're auditioning for, though it's really to protect us because otherwise we would get an email. We would get hundreds of emails.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes people know, like I'll get texts from actor friends like, hey, I got this audition that you're directing. Do I have a chance? And I'm always like in my mind, like, no, but then I text them, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did I tell you, I had a job last year where we put out the casting notice and we had the client name and all that stuff.
No, you have not told me this.
No, for sure. I told you 100%. I told you this. Right. I had a job. I booked it. It was going to be a non-union acting job because they needed to cut a lot of commercials and do a lot of things. There was one role and we put out the casting notice with the name of the client. And then SAG reached out to our casting director and said, hey, this client is like a SAG signatory. You can't shoot non-union.
Yeah.
This does not ring a bell to you? Are you serious? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then they basically killed the job because they're like, oh, well, now literally when you go from non-SAG to SAG, and we were shooting 4 different spots and had cut downs and everything, it's like a difference of like $100,000 in cost just for residuals and payments and buyouts, and especially how long they want these to run and stuff. And so then the job came back and we ended up doing it, and they're like, you know what, we'll pay the SAG fees. We went union, but there was this whole question on like when you put out a casting notice, how much information should you give? Like, do you need to give the actors, the name of the director, the name of the production company, the name of the
I
client.
hate it when people say brand, like when in audition sides, they'll be like, I love brand because it makes me feel so fresh and clean.
Oh, really?
It's
They
just like,
hide? I've never seen that.
yeah. I hate it.
Yeah. It is weird. I mean, as a director, you want everyone auditioning to be armed with as much information as possible, right? Like,
Yeah, sure.
there's zero value in being coy, right? You want them to give a good performance. So the more information you give them.
And who knows? They could be like, oh, I love Dove.
Right.
I was raised in a Dove family. I've used Dove my whole life. It's like an easy thing for somebody to say for real if they know,
Yeah.
So it's a Dove commercial.
Yeah, it's funny. Kara, my wife, just auditioned for something with this actress, Maggie Q. Do you know her? And she's in this show, Ballard, that my wife just did an episode of. So in the audition, she's like, hey, I just worked with Maggie Q,
Yeah, sure.
So it's like, and it's nice, those little, when you're seeing 100 tapes, just any little differentiator.
That stuff counts.
Even Geremy Jasper on this episode was like, oh, I hired a DP that had worked with Sadie Sink before. And it's just, those connections are helpful to have. Anyhow, hoping I finish. I'd love to hear from you people. You can DM me on Instagram or you can email us at justshootitpod@gmail.com if you enjoy hearing about our sagas, especially the multi-week ones. I obviously like talking about them, and I like it when people in the real world are like, oh,
what? I
heard what's going on.
I think people like hearing about them. I hope that neither of us has something as traumatic and drawn out.
Yeah. The drawn out part is kind of annoying.
The drawn out part.
But the traumatic, part. I mean, that's
you fine.
Show business, baby.
Yeah, baby.
Anyhow, if you like us in any other way, you can check out our Patreon, patreon.com/justshootitpod. It is where you can give us $1, $2, $4, $10, any bucks. It really helps us out and we appreciate it and helps keep the podcast going. You know what else helps keep the podcast going?
It's true.
Matt being present when we're talking to each other.
I'm there.
I've noticed you're so much more present ever since you started drinking that thing every morning. What's it called?
I'm back on Magic Mind. I got my shipment.
Dude, Matt got my shipment of Magic Mind, which is so funny.
It's so funny.
Now he's just has to drink both of them for us.
I will, happily. No, I'm going to give Oren his Magic Mind. But yes, I did get both shipments. And for a second, I was like, should I just not tell anyone?
Yeah, that was for 3 days. You didn't tell me. I don't think it was a second. But also today, you were like, hey, I just updated all our just shoot it accounting spreadsheets. And I'm like, oh, it sounds like you're on Magic Mind.
That is 100% true. That is exactly what happened. I was like, I'm locked in. My day hasn't really started yet. Let me just knock out something that I've been putting off for literally weeks, months. I cleaned up all of the accounting so that I could know exactly what's what and who's who. And it's all pristine thanks to the hyper focus Magic Mind gives you.
And for the single listener listening that has not heard us talk about Magic Mind before, it is a supplement shot. It tastes pretty good. Take it in the morning along with your coffee or whatever else you have in the morning. And it's got ashwagandha, lion's mane, all these vitamins, matcha, and it just helps you focus and be alert. And it seems to work pretty well.
Also, you don't crash, right? There's no come down. It lasts for a long time and it compounds day over day. So I'm stoked to be having it every single day and then some.
Yeah. Thanks. What were the jokes you were making that you became
I drank all of them once and became pure energy.
Oh yeah. I'm the guy from Watchmen, Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah, I'm Dr. Manhattan. Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm actually podcasting and I'm also on Mars building a mind palace at the same time.
Perfect.
A magic mind palace.
Well, Geremy Jasper's publicists are like, hey, enough about Magic Mind. Let's get to Geremy.
That's right. If you do want to buy yourself some Magic Mind, go to magicmind.com/shoot it. Magicmind.com/shoot it. You can save up to 45% off a subscription. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Your first order, right?
Yeah.
Every order?
Your first order.
Who knows? Try it out. Let us know. Let us know what you think. Just shootitpod@gmail.com. Let's talk to Geremy with a G, Jasper.
Let's go.
Hulu finances film, right?
Hulu, yeah, I think that's how it works. Hulu and Searchlight are sort of combined somehow. I don't understand exactly how it works. But I think they wrote most of the check. Yeah.
Cool. That's Fox Searchlight, which is owned by Disney, which is owns Hulu,
So it's not
everyone is.
Fox Searchlight. Yeah. So now it's just Searchlight.
Oh, interesting. And so just because you're doing some press, do you have the log line down? Can you give it to us?
No, I've been terrible with the log line. I don't like
tell
log
us a
line.
little bit about Odessa. Tell us about the film. Why should we check it out? Yeah.
I mean, Odessa is a musical odyssey. It's sort of a sci-fi fantasy film that's about a young woman who goes on this adventure, and it's kind of a hero's journey with music. Some people call it a rock opera. I like rock opera, but it's not a straight rock opera. I think the classic rock operas, there's zero dialogue, and this one has a lot of dialogue.
Oh, I didn't realize that was
an opera. It's a musical.
Sure. It's a musical.
Rock musical.
Yeah.
With kind of some glam 80s vibes.
Yeah.
Starring Sadie Sink, who's awesome, who sings a lot in it.
Yes.
And
sorry, it's worth asking, is that her voice?
That's her voice. Oh,
awesome.
yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Do people... I feel like people don't do that nowadays.
Yeah, I guess
they do it in the biopics.
Oh, sure.
It's like,
sure.
No,
Yeah.
I mean,
that's not Timothy Chalamet.
No, that's Timothy, but I don't. But not in the Bohemian Rhapsody.
Sure.
No way.
That's somebody else singing. Yeah, I mean, it's if that dude could
that's
sing,
not Rami Malek.
If he could sing like Freddie Mercury, that would be insane.
Yeah.
That's the most difficult thing in the world to sing.
Mamma Mia.
But Sadie does do her own stunts. She sings. Yeah, she's incredible. She's a force.
That's awesome. Well, I noticed you wrote and directed, and also you also have a composer credit on this.
Yeah, and I wrote
movie.
the songs for the movie. Yeah,
awesome. Congratulations.
Thanks.
We're kind of getting to like the big main question I have about this film, right? Because you've got this incredible history. You like Patty Cakes was a kind of a huge smash, festival hit darling, and then Odessa has this really ambitious, cool, out there movie, right? Like, yes, it's like a rock musical, but it's also kind of like throwback cyberpunk 80s VHS. There's a lot of words you need to use to describe this film, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's a really wonderful example of the sort of films that like people say we don't get to make anymore.
That's exactly right.
Right.
That's like that's why I wanted to do it.
So the two questions are: how did you get to do it?
How can I find a movie that people don't want to make anymore?
No,
and make it.
People aren't willing to make it.
Yeah,
they don't get to make. Yeah, exactly. There's we all know 1,000 people who would kill to make this movie.
Yeah.
So how did you get it made? And then also the style and tone is really specific. How did you communicate that to the people signing the check in the first place, right?
Those are two very long answers.
That's the whole show. I'm putting myself on mute. There you go.
It took 5 years, I think, for us to get a green light.
When you say us, is it?
I mean, it was me me and my producers Noah Stahl and Michael Gottwald, who did Patty Cakes with me. And were there from the very beginning with Odessa.
And was Patty Cakes, was that your first feature?
That was my first feature, yeah.
And is this Odessa's your second feature?
Odessa's my second. So I came off Patty and people were like, well, what do you want to do next? You want to do
right.
I'm
really curious about this because we hear this thing about just being ready, like in case you have a hit.
And that was not me, because I always wanted to be a director. I always wanted to get into film, but I wasn't that person that had 10 things waiting in the wings. Like Patty was the first screenplay I'd ever written, and I didn't know if it was going to work. I didn't know if I was going to love the process. I didn't know if it was going to be the thing that I really wanted to dedicate my life to. And so finishing that process was very intense. And then it was like, well, what do I want to do next? And then, you get offered certain things, and nothing felt right. But I had this idea for Odessa for years and years before, and to me, it made sense, but to everybody else, it seemed like the craziest idea ever, except for Michael and Noah, my producing partners. And then we just started the process of developing it. And it was a 5-year process. We kind of made some headway, and then, the shutdown happened and we kind of lost like 2 years in that chunk. So it ended up, the whole process was 7 years from the sort of inception to finishing it. It was a long one. And so to your question, Matt, what was the first question was,
how did you get them to, but I'm going to derail the conversation already before that, where every other podcast would follow the Odessa thread.
Yeah.
I'm really curious about that you get offers and things, because coming off of Patty Cakes, right? It's how many years between 2017 to 2025, right?
Yeah.
Like 8 years. Like, are you being offered like scripts to write and scripts to direct? And
It's more scripts to direct.
I guess I'm curious, because if I was in that situation, I've never had a feature at Sundance, so I haven't been in that situation. But like I would kind of see dollar signs for a second, and I'd be like, what's the opportunity here?
Yeah.
Like, how do you juggle that versus, your brand and kind of you as a filmmaker?
I just knew, I came up in music videos and commercials, and I knew well enough that, like, even doing something like those, if it was a couple weeks or a month, if I wasn't really into it, it was going to go horribly wrong. And so it was very difficult to find material that I was that excited about, that I was like obsessed with. And that is what Odessa became like an obsession. Obviously, if it took this long to do, I just like was completely focused on making it. And it was a roller coaster with a lot of heartbreaks and a lot of it almost fell apart, I don't know, 6 or 7 times. People would attach, then they would drop off. And so
were you writing the songs like in the meantime?
I was writing the songs, I was writing the script, I was kind of doing it, swinging back and forth. But yeah, it took a long time. And maybe I should have gone and made another movie. Maybe I should have done a studio film. I don't know.
Sure.
I could sometimes I think back oh, maybe.
Were you doing commercials and music videos?
I was doing a couple, a couple here and there. Yeah, I was picking up gigs here and there.
Well, I mean, that's kind of like the obsession of the show, right? Oren and I, and Geremy, you too, we all kind of have families to support, and we're all kind of just constantly balancing,
how do you make a career out of
exactly.
this?
Exactly. And it was down to the wire. I mean, that's basically what happened. I wasn't going to be able to survive any longer until finally Searchlight kind of signed on to do it. It came through.
Right.
Yeah.
And was that pre-pandemic?
That was post-pandemic. Yeah, I think that was a year after that they signed on. And Matt, you were asking before, what it took to convince them. It took a lot. It didn't take just a script. It took all the demos for the songs. It took.
And who's singing on the demos? Is that you?
No, I would do the first version, and then we brought in a singer that's a good friend of Jason, my music partner, and myself, and she would sing kind of like Odessa. Odessa-esque before we had an actress, and it was kind of a proof of concept. Here's what an Odessa would sound like. Here's the vibe. You could listen to the whole record. Here are drawings. Here are sketches. Here are collages of what the world's going to look like. Here are the characters.
And is this the same pitch? Do you give you have kind of a pitch that's prepared for financiers, cast, and kind of crew?
Yeah, it's a little different for each person, but yeah. And you do kind of a song and dance.
I'm going to assume that there are some people where your songwriting partner, you can kind of have a conversation with them. Maybe they're not getting compensated, maybe not, but there's certainly craftspeople who are collage artists, unless you're
I was doing all that myself.
All yourself.
I was doing it all myself. So I was making the decks, I was making the collages, I was finding the references, I was designing them, and then Jason and I were just going into his basement studio and recording. We made many records on prepping for the film, but he's in it. He just loves it, so he was down to do it. And then sometimes that's just what it takes. So it was a very mom and pop operation.
Right.
It was very DIY, scrappy.
So you've written the script and you have all these songs. You had these 16 songs pretty much figured out.
Yeah.
You go into Fox Searchlight and you're like, picture this.
Yes. Yeah.
You have your electric guitar.
And this is a dumb technical question, but you said you have collages, you have artist renderings, all of that stuff. Is it
on an iPad?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Is it on an iPad, or you projecting it on?
Yes, you run your laptop.
The HDMI cable moves.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
And you're like, I'm sorry, this usually works, but
no, it could be a disaster.
Source in.
We did 6 or 7 of those presentations, and half of them were like that. It didn't work. Then you're like showing around the laptop.
Well,
Yeah.
Jeremy, you're probably the first person who's ever brought in any presentation materials into that conference room. So
Yeah,
it would make sense that they wouldn't know how to do it.
No, obviously you're joking, but when
just-
I was pitching TV, I mean, this was like years ago, but like our producers like as minimal AV as possible because we just spend so much time trying to figure it out and things aren't working and you rehearsed it and then you're totally off your game because things aren't going right.
It throws you. I would recommend coming in almost 45 minutes before you have like
2 days.
Sometimes it takes that long to kind of set it up. But yeah, you put it on the screen. You know.
And how long is the presentation?
Try to do like a half an hour, but it was probably longer. It was probably 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really know what I was doing at that time, and would kind of dig in. And those things are difficult. I don't know what your guys' experiences are, but it's hard sometimes. I did one early on to get funding to write, so that's what I did. I went to financiers about. I knew that unless I was on the hook to write the script, I was going to be I was going to lose focus.
Pitching on toothpaste commercials or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Doing
Which I mean,
ridiculous.
Fluoride is good for you.
I don't know. And so we found someone to pay me to write the script.
And what do they get in exchange? Do they own a piece of?
Yes. And they become producers on the project, and they have some ownership.
Oh,
and then when Searchlight comes on, they get kind of reimbursed.
Recouped. Gotcha.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Because that's always, there's this idea that like everyone's like, don't add too many producers to your project because then other producers aren't going to want to come on. But that's what happens once like a studio like Searchlight comes on.
They pay off.
They buy out your producer. Interesting. But they still get some sort of credit on the film.
Exactly. It worked out pretty well because it supported me for a couple years to be able to do it, and to like just strictly focus on the writing. So that was leading up to COVID. And then post-COVID, it was about how do we get this made? And then going in with a script and with a presentation and with songs to Searchlight.
When does Sadie come into the equation?
Sadie came in a little bit later. Sadie came in probably, I want to say 3 months or 4 months before we actually shot. Like we had other actors attached.
3 months before you shot.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was pretty fast. Like we had other actors attached.
Did you have Regina Hall?
Regina Hall came later. So Sadie was the first. We had a whole other cast that was attached earlier, which
were they helpful in getting the financing? And
yes, they were helpful in making it somewhat real. But by doing that, you have to work with their schedule, and you become. We're in a huge movie, so we become a lower, priority, and it gets sketchy, and then you think the film is going to fall apart, and that's where I was. Someone quite substantial had fallen off of the film, and I was like, "We're dead. The movie is done. We are dead," because the age group that Sadie is in, it's a very
there's
small
like 5 actors that mean
exactly. It's a very tricky thing, and I was so naive about it.
And they need to sing.
Stuff. Yeah,
and they need to not decide to go to college all of a sudden.
And frankly, just to be famous enough to star in a movie. Do you know what I mean?
You have to be good actors too, right?
Have the skills to carry a movie on your back at that age. It is an insane amount of work.
Oren and I have a good friend who's casting a role in that exact size.
Yeah, no, the problem with this age range is sometimes by the time the movie gets made, they're no longer, the 19-year-old is now 29.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you look at like Millie Bobby Brown, right, as an easy example. She starts off as like a tween, and like now she's like, is she Chris Pratt's love interest in that new movie? Like she's in like
Electric State.
Electric State.
She's married to John.
Probably son. Brad is.
They're living on more than
Jersey
a
Roy.
Is she? And so she had done the Stranger Things by the time
she was.
That's where you knew her.
Yeah, so she was in the midst of doing Stranger Things. I met with her. We Zoomed, but I didn't even. I knew that Stranger Things was such a huge responsibility for an actor.
Sure.
When I think their seasons are 18 months or 2 years.
Sure.
So I had already had my heart broken a couple times during the casting. I was like, not even going to think about this. We're going to meet. It's going to be nice, but I'm not going to talk about Odessa. Like, I don't even want to open that door. So couple weeks later, I get a text from I think it was from my manager, just check this out. And I open it up and it's Sadie had gotten her hands on one of my demos, had learned it on guitar, and she just sang one of the songs. She just recorded herself in a hotel room.
So she like called her agent. She's like, find a track.
She got her hands on the script and some of the music. And she was like, I want to do this without me even knowing it.
It's one of those dream moments.
That's a huge compliment too to you. Like,
it was
she chased the role.
Exactly. It was major. And so I open this thing up. I watch her. It's like so beautiful. Her just strumming and singing.
It was the first time video during the closing credits.
I know. I wish she would let us. She's a little shy about it. And it was the first time in the 5 years that I've been developing the film that I actually saw the film for the first time. Like it's one thing to be writing a screenplay. You feel like you know these characters, you're living with them, you're hallucinating them all the time, but they're not real. You're making mock-ups of what they look like or cartoons or whatever. They're not real. This, like seeing this beautiful young human being singing this song, it was like, there she fucking is. There's Odessa. It's the film. And so that was like the starting gun.
The catalyst.
Then that was the catalyst because the film was falling apart by then. It wasn't going to happen. Then I got that. And then it was like, okay, check this out. Here's the movie. And then from there, it started to kind of get some energy and movement.
That's pretty rad.
It's so cool. Yeah. I have to ask, did you talk to her about it afterwards? Did she say why? Like, what was the thing that sparked her interest again?
It's interesting. We had a really just like on the level working creative collaboration relationship where we didn't ask too many questions. We were just like, what is ahead of us? And like I was just saying before, we had 3 months before we were shooting. So once we decided to sign, once she signed on and once we were making the movie, we were in the studio. We were working. We were working dialect coaching.
Wait, sorry, just so I'm clear, 3 months is not, you're saying it's not a lot of time to prep for the movie?
It was not a lot of time to record an album's worth of music, move to Croatia, and then go shoot. It was fast.
You shot the whole thing in Croatia?
Yeah, it was shot in Croatia. So we recorded. So yeah, she signed on, I feel like in like November. By January, we were recording in the studio, doing about 10 or 12 songs together, which I was still rewriting and tweaking. And, we're still works in progress. And then by March, we were in Croatia. So yeah, it was a quick turnaround.
I want to get to the directing stuff and why Croatia and all that.
Yeah.
But just to touch on the writing part a little bit more, just because you wrote these 16 songs, right?
Yeah.
Can you just tell us a little bit about like your approach to writing the script and the songs? And is there 3 acts and you kind of assign different songs and different acts, or how do you write a musical basically?
Yeah, I come from albums. So my initial idea is always to sketch it out as like what an album would feel like. Where would you put a ballad? Where would you put like the heavy number? Where will you slow it down? Where will you ramp it up? And I kind of take 12 or 13 songs and kind of like lay it out that way first. Usually you take that apart.
And is that, sorry, as someone that doesn't really know that much about how albums work, is there like kind of a 3-act structure?
I think for the albums that really work. Yeah. And then you kind of ramp up towards the end. It's sort of, I don't know much about classical music, but classical music is sort of structured sort of the same way.
I haven't read Blake Snyder's book on albums yet.
Sure, yeah.
Snyder's?
He wrote Save the Cat. You know that book?
Oh, yes. He did write no.
Yeah.
No, about 45 minutes in, you gotta put someone in peril.
Yeah, you start playing it in reverse. Yeah.
Yes.
Dark Night of the Soul music.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So I've laid out that way, and then I have certain songs that have a vibe, and then I start to kind of build it from there. But then it's
so you're writing the screenplay around these songs.
Kind of knowing I have these roughed out, and
each song is kind of like an emotion, right? Like a ballad,
each song's at a different genre, its own genre. Like it should all relate to what the overall style of the film is, but it will have its own particular genre. Like this one's going to be more of, I don't know, a Beatlesque ballad. And this one is going to feel like more like Led Zeppelin. And this one is going to be like some, I don't know, fascist dubstep. I don't know. You just like want to start to kind of play.
Dubstep.
Yeah. Or like some Salvation Army band stuff. And like, you kind of rough it.
And so does that inform the plot at all?
It does. Yeah. But I start with the script first. So I would
before you write
I had a couple songs like in my back pocket, but I would write, I don't know, 3-4 months by myself, writing the script, hit the wall. That feeling of despair that you get where it's just like, this is going nowhere.
Like page 50 and there's nothing left to happen.
There's nothing left to happen. And it's just brutal. And then I would use that angst to then go into the studio, go in the basement with Jason, and I would have some sketches of songs that I would build on that would inform and add some color or character or personality to the pages I was writing. And then I would kind of use that energy to go back into the script. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Funny. And then,
I feel like you'll hear certain screenwriters, and I'm trying to think of who, maybe David O. Russell would have like his like side piece script. He'd like have the main one he's writing, and then he'd be like, well,
that's what I feel like.
I'm going to cheat on this screenplay with that, but you get to go write songs instead, basically.
Yes, right. Which I do think is adding.
There's this. Matt and I work in commercials a lot, and we're making treatments and pitching and stuff. And it does make me think the fact that you have this like music to escape to when you're stuck on the script. Like, I feel like if I was writing a feature right now and I got stuck somewhere, maybe I would just go make a mood board or references, or like kind of go to Shot Deck and kind of try to start getting ideas. I mean, I know people watch movies and stuff, obviously, to get inspired, but it's cool to have something instead of going to a different project, like you're saying, David O. Russell does, like that you get to stay on that project, but a different part of your brain is like activating.
Yeah, it's, writing the script, it's like, it's so precise. It's so like, it's so tight. It's such a tight experience. Sometimes you just give yourself a migraine doing it, and it's exhausting in a different way. And then there's just a part of making music is so much more intuitive. You just like, you kind of let go in a different way. And it's like, it's a very, very different process. And then you kind of hit a wall with that. And then it's time to like get back into the details of being in final draft, or that strange labyrinth of being in final draft, which yikes.
I remember like years ago now on the podcast, I endorsed, we endorsed things that we like, and I endorsed the making of Frozen. Or might have been Frozen. I think it was Frozen 1 or 2. There's a Disney Plus show about how they made it. And it's like that play between the storyboard artists, the screenwriters, and the composers, and the lyricists is really interesting, because they're like, we need something here. She finds out that she can't be around other humans, or here she like finds out that the guy she's in love with is like, it's about being in love, but not about really being in love. It's more about like lust and love. And just kind of seeing the triangulation of a story moving forward just seems less daunting than just sitting down and like you said, in final draft.
But I kind of handed to my music partner, Jason, because like he didn't know what we were writing songs about. He didn't know who the characters were. Like he was totally in the dark, and I wouldn't give him any information. And so we were I was figuring it out myself. I could see the scenes in my head, and I kind of wanted it to be a little bit more pure for him. Like, does it work as a good piece of music instead of, does it work for this scene?
Sure.
And so I thought that was,
Yes, you had a level of objectivity to it.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Now, was there anything that you learned from Patty Cakes, either from the writing or the directing, that you like wanted to do differently or approach differently on Odessa?
Yeah, big time. Patty Cakes we did for very, very little money, and we had zero time to make it.
Can you say like the number of days and like?
I think, I feel like it was maybe it was 29 days.
Okay.
For Patty Cakes?
I think that's what we had for Patty Cakes. Pretty sure.
Which is not bad for an indie
Which is
film,
not bad. But it was a lot of story. Sure. And it was ambitious for what we were doing. We were told by many, many line producers that what we were doing was insane. And they all dropped off. And then we found our guy who was a pirate to make it happen. And you need those pirates to like believe in what you're doing and move some shit around and make it happen. But my frustration with it was I had come from music videos and commercials, and I just felt like, okay, like we get to play with the camera a bit and like build a scene, but with Patty, it was so down and dirty and so like go go go. There was just like pick up the camera and just shoot, and like it was pretty.
Cover it.
It was
sure it
just
works.
cover it, get it, and move on. And I wanted to do something that had more of a look and feel to it, and create a unique world. That's what I was jonesing for, like coming out of doing Patty. And also, like, Patty was about where I grew up. We shot a little bit in my hometown. Like, I wanted to go somewhere else. I wanted to escape. I wanted to create somewhere new.
Croatia would be.
Yeah, Croatia.
That is, because Patty is so grounded, and this is kind of the opposite of grounded.
It is the opposite. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
in the air.
Can we talk a little bit about the technical approach?
Sure.
Especially for people who haven't seen a piece of footage, because every single pixel of this film has been thought through and augmented and plussed in some way. It's hyper real, surreal.
Yeah,
I said cyberpunk. I'll stick with that. Like it's impressionistic. Maybe,
but it looks like a lot of practical effects too, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Like special effects, makeup, and
it's tons of practical. It's actually just little dashes CG, but it's all done for real. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, not all done, but sure. mostly done for real. Very, very.
But even the color treatment is like stylized, right? Like the purple planes and
exactly. Yeah, I wanted to. I love like 60s and 70s album covers. Prog rock, psychedelic album art. I wanted to, it's been my dream for over 20 years to make a film that felt like one of those album covers come to life.
Was there a guiding philosophy or principle to how you approached the visuals? Like what's in bounds and what's out of bounds with Odessa?
Yeah.
How did you figure it out?
Yeah, I worked very closely with my DP, Rena Yang, and the production designer, Scott Dugan. And we had certain rules. We had certain colors that it's a polluted world. So the pollution looks like this color. The pollution doesn't turn everything, yellow. It turns it this shade of purple. So, here we're going to follow that into the city. Here the skies look this way. They don't look that. I wish I could have done more sky replacement, but that's very, very, very expensive. But yeah, there were nature rules. There were city rules. I didn't get too uptight with them, because something just feels or looks right when it comes down to it for me. And this is the film has a bit of dream logic, kind of fairy tale logic. And so I wanted to make sure that like you'd still felt like you were in another world. But yeah, there were some guidelines.
I see Rena as kind of from the music video world, right? Just
yes.
like Taylor Swift videos and
yes.
Phoebe Bridgers, like a ton of, was Dua Lipa, is that something that was like a conscious, like, did you know her before, or were you like, I want this to feel like a music video? So I didn't
know her before, but I knew her work, and she's bubbling up as like a real talent that pushes things. And I am good friends with a producer who had worked with her and really recommended her. And then she read the script and really, really, really liked it and was like, I've been looking for something like this. And I've always wanted to work with a female DP. And it just seemed like the right combination of things. She had worked with Sadie before because Sadie was in this Taylor Swift music video. I can't remember what it's called.
The Whale.
It's not The Whale.
Haze,
not
Bejeweled,
Lavender Haze.
Anti-Hero, Training Season.
No, but it's a short film that Taylor had directed that Rena shot, and it's
cool. And
it's as different from Odessa as possible. But the fact that Sadie had worked closely with Rena meant a lot, and Rena is a beast.
Right. Can you tell us give us some examples of some?
She's the hardest working, hardest driving person that I've ever met. Like DPs can, I don't know, I've worked with some that have, a lot of experience and can be kind of, I don't want to say condescending, but like they know the way. And Rena is very collaborative. She was like, what am I interested in? And then once she got a feel for that, she was like, I'm going to make this shit happen. And she was like, we had very limited means to make these things happen. And she pushed everybody, her crew, like the whole operation, to make sure we got what we needed. Like there's like a line. You want someone that like holds the line. and is not going to compromise the
Yeah.
work. And
And
she did that. And like, as a director, you're
So your
exhausted.
producers didn't like her, I guess.
They respected her.
You always know the more
as one of them
fights,
said afterwards, like she was the MVP, and I believe that.
Yeah.
the more back and forth pushing between the producers and the cinematographers, that you're making some cool stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
100%.
Exactly.
I bit my tongue when you said that, a producer friend of yours recommended the DP, because every time a producer recommends a DP to me, they're like, oh, you'd love them. They're so fast.
Right.
It's like, oh,
Oh,
great.
they light everything with one light.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yes.
Cool,
Exactly.
okay.
You'll be done early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exciting.
What's your process with Rena? Do you guys like watch movies together?
We didn't watch any movies together, but we storyboarded every frame of the film, and then I did animatics.
Like you made them yourself?
We had, a kid on, during pre-production who took all of our drawings. I think we had thousands of them.
And did Hulu and
Put them together.
Searchlight want that stuff, or is that mainly
No,
just for
that was
yourself?
for us. That was for us. Yeah, they don't need any of that stuff. It was for a lot of the timing with the music. Like there's a lot of montage storytelling going on, so I wanted to make sure that was working or not.
And is this something that you carried with you from your previous, like your music video work?
Yes, exactly. As much as I used to draw them myself, and they were super crude, and then we got an amazing artist in Zagreb who did them for us, and it took 3 weeks to go through the whole film. So Rena and I would sit down every day for probably 3 hours and shot list, design the shots, then sit with a storyboard artist and then go through them.
Yeah, I love that.
A lot of those get cut. That was always a dream of mine to do. I didn't get to do that with Patty Cakes. Like there was never enough time. It's sometime like actually going through that process now. I'm like, that was great. Maybe didn't have to do it for everything. Yeah.
Right. I mean, sometimes you're like, it's a 2-shot and then an over and then a pan as they walk. I mean, we could have just done this on our phones on
exactly,
set.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Or maybe found something else on set with your phones.
And a lot of times we did find something else and we didn't like completely stick to it.
But you guys shot, you probably did a good amount of stage stuff also, right?
No, we shot on location everywhere. We did the ending stuff on stage.
You built some sets.
Third act stuff, we built sets. But a lot of it was finding locations and then modifying those locations.
And are you good at like thinking, when you say modifying those locations, are any of them modified in post? Like, are you pretty good at being like, oh, this is great. Maybe in VFX, we can just make, instead of this mall, look like
a little
destroyed world.
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit out, on the periphery. You can see that stuff. But within the shot itself, it's quite difficult to see at that stage.
So tell us about Croatia. How did you end up there? Is it for the borscht?
It was for the borscht. God, yeah, it was a wild saga to get there, because initially we were going to shoot in Buffalo. That's where we were in Buffalo, New York. We were scouting there, right before COVID.
For incentives, basically, or just
we thought maybe
Geremy loves like negative.
Yeah, exactly. I just like bleak dystopian architecture. They have this amazing place called Silo City in Buffalo. That I thought we could create our own little mini studio, a backlot there, that we could take over this area. It was like, it's amazing. It looks so cliche dystopian in a weird way. I thought, okay, it's a little port town. It's like, okay, we're gonna move everyone there. We're gonna live in this within a mile radius of this place, and we'll just shoot the whole movie in this space. It just was too expensive to shoot in New York State. And then we were like, okay, we're gonna
because
shoot.
Of the labor or gear. Or
I think just everything added up, and it's a lot of movie to shoot, and we just couldn't have done it. It was just going to be impossible. And so then we were going to maybe look at other places in Eastern Europe, and then John Montepar, our sort of genius line producer, thought of Croatia, and they had done a bunch of seasons of Game of Thrones. They had crew there. People are shooting there more and more. We went and scouted. And I was like, this could work. The problem with Croatia and the Zagreb area, it's so clean and it's not derelict enough. So we had to find like weird little alleyways where, like, in Brooklyn where I was living at the time, like you can turn the camera anywhere. But with there, like you had to really scout for the shitty little corners of the place. But it was great. Their crews were great. Their art department was unbelievable. Like they were so happy to not be making some big action movie, like to just actually make weird shit, that they were locked in. The problem with shooting there is that like a 10-hour day is like way too long for them. They have like
Really?
Yeah.
It's the opposite of Matt's experience in Russia.
Oh, you shot in Russia?
I shot in Russia. I shot in Moscow.
Whoa.
And we shot.
It was Putin's video, Bumble account profile video.
I think I got him laid. No. I was. This is a weird tangent, but I was shooting cat food commercials.
That was way before Ukraine.
Wait, that is true. Yeah, way before Ukraine. And but yeah, we shot like
don't they do like 19 hours?
I did 18, 19 hours. I was like, is
Oh
anyone
my
gonna make me
God.
stop? Like, what's going on?
Well, they have 27 hours in a day there.
Sure. Yeah. I was like, this is, and no one else was upset about it. But so in Croatia, you're saying like 10 is the cap.
10 is the cap.
What would
And
be a standard shoot day for them? Like what's
8 hours.
8?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like call time is 8 hours. Like you
Yeah.
have,
Yeah. I would maybe get
8 to
an
6.
hour for lunch. But yeah,
Okay.
8 shooting
8 to
hours.
7.
and like no
Yeah.
pre-call or anything. Like
I don't think
Wild.
so. Yeah.
Wild.
Pretty intense. So that was
And how do you do like production design there? Is your production designer American or?
sorry, hold on. I
Production-
have more questions about an
Yeah,
8-hour
yeah.
shoot day. Actually,
yeah. I don't know how you do
Oh.
it. I don't know how you do it.
How many pages are you shooting a day?
How many were we shooting?
Yeah.
I feel like 2.5.
2.5. Yeah.
Yeah. Something like that.
Really, what I want to know is, was it ultimately kind of nice?
Well, we
Oh.
weren't doing 8.5.
Oh, I see.
No.
You were
They, like,
mad at you because they're like,
Pissed. Exactly.
Jeremy's making us
It-
shoot 10 hours. This is
Exactly.
crazy. I see.
And then it was like we had to go over 10 hours. And so there was
Yeah.
They're like, Geremy, more than 2 takes?
yeah, what? This fucking diva.
Because wouldn't
So-
it be incredible to like shoot 8 hours, like have dinner plans?
Oh, I mean,
like,
yeah,
see
that would be
kid?
the
Clint Eastwood style.
be the
Exactly.
greatest. It's like yeah, Clint Eastwood style, like
Yeah.
Woody Allen style. Just
Yeah,
like
sure.
just
Yeah.
it's like
Sorry, I got a
gotta go.
clarinet gig tonight.
Got a Knicks game.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's but it wasn't that. So then we were going,
I see.
12 hours.
see.
There's lots of drama,
Yeah,
lots of issues, but we
see.
worked through it. But that was everything else was great. Everything else, like wonderful place to shoot, great people. Everyone spoke English, which was lovely. Like there weren't the casting people were wonderful. Like everybody kind of brought it. It was just the hours. Like we're just used to shooting more. We're just used to
you are
going
reminded,
harder.
like production people are production people. Like it's all circus family. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I do find when shooting out of the country, the art department is the most noticeably different than shooting in the US. Like there's
Oren
just
had
like
a bad gig in Colombia a couple weeks ago.
oh no,
Can't get over
it's not that. No, just that there's 100 people where you would have 10. You know?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Oh, you felt like there was more people.
Yeah, the size of the art department, like, and it's like put a wall here, put a wall there. Like in LA, it's like we can do an 8-foot wall, and you want to return. It's 2 feet enough, and then they're like 80 feet, 20 feet. You know, sure. Just the amount of labor that they have, you know, kind of in some of these countries just seems unlimited. You know.
Yes. Yeah. That was definitely a big help in Croatia. I mean, we built like a whole small city there. I mean, we kind of did a little bit what I was hoping to do in Buffalo, where we built a small city. We're able to kind of use it as a backlot, you know, cut it off from the rest of the city and just like come in and shoot.
That's awesome.
Which was cool. Yeah, it's a bit of a dream.
And then in terms of like directing, like all the music and the singing and stuff, is it pretty much just like how you would direct a music video, like playback?
It's tricky. It's more complicated than you would think. Have you done any of that stuff? Have you done like in-ears and live recording? And it's not I mean, some scenes where it's like it's big and it's loud and there's dancers or dancing. It's like then you're doing it music video style, and it's easier. You just crank it up in the room. But there was a lot of scenes, especially for Sadie, where it's intimate, it's small, there's a lot of detail in her singing, and a lot of that stuff we just recorded live. So you know, we have a mic on her, and she is singing it, you know, in the take, you know, Les Mis style, and she was really good at those things. Yeah.
And are you directing, like when you do, this lyric, or when you go back, when you get to this word, like maybe that's when you think about this, like, are you doing kind of your standard actor direction?
Yeah, a little bit. It's certain, the chorus hits, we need this kind of reaction, or you're thinking deeply here in this lyric, a little bit here and there. Yeah. But she's very, very intuitive too. So she would bring certain moments too.
And is that where the animatics came through most importantly? Like, is that where, are you able to choreograph, like, oh, okay, like I know I'm intending to cut to these moments.
Yes,
so like, let's focus on them. Yeah,
exactly. Like I need this lyric here instead of having to sit through a 4-minute song and run it over and over and over again because our time is limited.
Yeah.
How many days did you have to shoot this?
I can't remember. I feel like we had 5 weeks, 6 weeks maybe.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Get used to the time change.
Yeah, exactly. And I was there for 2 months beforehand. I was living there for a while.
Yeah.
Before it was time to go. Yeah.
That's cool. What was I going to ask? So did you, and how about, like, I'm curious, just like with Hulu and Searchlight and stuff, like when are they involved in post? Are you involved in post?
Oh, big time. I mean, Hulu, I don't have a relationship with them there. They distribute. Yeah, they're but the Searchlight people I'm super close with. They're like inner circle confidants of the whole process. So yeah, they are very, very involved.
In what way? Tell us a little more. Like, are they?
Well, they're they're giving notes on the scripts. Many drafts of the script, many tweaks, many changes up into all through casting, all through hiring department heads, all through pre-production, coming out to Croatia, checking everything out, and then visiting set, looking at dailies, and then very involved in post-production. I mean, like involved in a respectful way, not that they're like driving anything, but the people that I was dealing with there, like, were really, really invested in the film, and they had some great ideas. So it was a good experience working with them, actually, on that front.
On the production side, I mean, we heard obviously about some challenges on the getting the project made side, but were there any interesting challenges to overcome from like a production standpoint?
It was just too much movie. I mean, that's what we came up against with Patty Cakes, and that's what we came up against here. Like,
on your
you're insane. Yeah.
Geremy Jasper made too much movies.
Too ambitious.
Yeah. That'd be an awesome thing.
Yeah. What a way to go, Geremy.
Yeah.
It was just a lot. So people would be like, how are you going to do this? Like, how are you going to create this? She's supposed to fly on the back of, motor speedboat, through the ocean. How are you going to do this? So there was a lot of problem solving we had to buy.
So is that something that you have you solve on your own, or you talk to
no
VFX artists, or what's the approach?
Worked very closely with Scott, the production designer. He was a real superhero in problem solving a lot of how we did this.
And I saw he did like Florida Man and Pony.
He kind of cut his teeth doing The Deuce.
Oh, The Deuce, yeah.
Cool.
I've done that. I did that
done
once
The Deuce
today. Once. Oh, the show, yeah.
One deuce a day. And so I think that kind of city planning and building really came in handy. And like, he knows how to run a fucking crew. He knows how to get people together. He knows how to go to another. It was just him. He was the only American with all Croatians.
That's
and so
crazy.
That's why.
That's when I, for commercials, when you got 1 or 2 days.
Yeah.
And you're going to go shoot in even, wherever. Atlanta or wherever, Buffalo. I'm always like, gosh, I think we should bring a local designer just because they know where to get the stuff.
Oh, totally.
And we have zero room for error.
Right.
But if you are doing a feature, there is the whole design part. It's not just sourcing things,
Right.
Well, it's like thinking about the storytelling through the
So
art.
you need real artists, but then you also need the people that know where to get the wood to build the boardwalk.
But I think it always, there's always going to be that breaking point somewhere where it's like, okay, like maybe you're lucky enough to bring certain department heads, but then their lieutenants, they're not going to have a shorthand with or relationship with.
Right.
So like, no matter what, at a certain point, people feel a little hamstrung with like not having
very true
their home team,
Yes.
I will still take a production designer. I would love to travel to production designers more often.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, especially someone that you have a shorthand with or that has like so much experience that you're
and knows your taste, knows what you're going for.
That's
right. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a tough thing. Luckily, they did tons of very sophisticated drawings and kind of you could see the film. We had like the walls were just filled with what the film was going to look like, and going back to it, it's like, oh yeah, that is what we made. So that was good. There wasn't like, some jobs you show up on set and you're like, what is this? Like, this is not what we designed. Or there wasn't even, you run out of time, like on a commercial, sometimes like it's not pre-designed and you just have to do it on the fly. And it's like, oh God, this is wrong. Here we were able to really kind of hone in on things.
Yeah. It's funny. I don't like hiring production designers that I like, because then I feel guilty asking them, because it's like, oh, now that I see it
afterwards.
Now that I see it, could the windows be like 6 inches higher?
I know.
Sorry.
Drive them crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a rough gig.
I know. I think it's like the most thankless job on set. It's cool when you have a budget and you have a team of like 50 people or whatever, but when someone's staying late, it's the art department. And when someone has to be there 5 hours before everyone else and work the whole weekend, it's always the art department.
They bleed for it. Yeah, they really do.
So I'm curious, just calling back to the patty cakes conversation, you had this smash hit at Sundance and weren't really ready with the next thing to go. Is there a plan?
I learned the hard way. Yeah, I got 3 things ready to go.
Yeah, locked and loaded.
Yeah. I'm not doing that again. There's no way I'm losing 7-8 years of my life again on one project. Like, I learned the hard way. It's the cliche, you have many things going at the same time. I get very obsessive. And so I was obsessed with Odessa in probably an unhealthy way. And now I've worked through that. So I have multiple things. I've become more normal.
So patty cakes is, relatively grounded, right? And then Odessa becomes, like we said, very stylized, but also super ambitious musically as well. Do you feel like maybe, if your next project, you don't have to write, a rock album and design a whole new world and write a screenplay? You could maybe, like there's a reason it took 7 years of your life, right?
Yeah. I'm going to do most of this.
Are you curbing that ambition? Are you focusing on the stuff that you like a little bit more or not?
It's
go for it too,
learned for the next project that I'm writing to make it a lot more contained, less locations, fewer characters. There will be some music, but it's not musical.
Sure.
Because that keeps it fun. And that's just sort of the world that I'm interested in. And it's much more genre, like it's less like it's this meets this, like where the hard thing with Odessa was I couldn't sell it to anybody because I didn't know how to really describe it. And every time I was like, it's this meets it, people were so freaked out that they were like, no, it's cool.
Give us an example of one of
the apple meets Mamma Mia.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
What I used to say as my comp.
Yeah. That didn't work. Right. Yeah. That scared people away.
Well, my producers really liked me saying it was Mad Max meets A Star Is Born.
Oh, that's good.
I like that. Yeah.
Which was not that bad.
Sign me up. Yeah.
Yeah. But, I think I was doing stuff like it was, Holy Mountain meets Romeo and Juliet, stuff like that. And people are like, yeah.
Sometimes it's also like, you just can't, a deeper cut just doesn't help.
Well, that's what I realized. Right, yeah. I'd realize how shallow the cuts can be.
Yeah.
It can't be very deep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
that's right.
So for the next one, it's going to be a lot more straightforward, a lot easier to get your head around.
And do you have a strategy? Like, so 3 days from now, the movie comes out. Are you do you have like the email blast ready to go? You have, I mean, I'm assuming you have agents and managers and stuff.
Yeah.
Are they like lining things up? How does it work?
We have like a couple of things that are in different stages of going. So I've just realized, and I'm sure but you guys have experience with this, and everyone you talk to, it's like almost impossible to get something made. And so you just have to get as many things happening as possible, not knowing which one it's going to be. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you think how well Odessa does has any bearing on what the next thing will be, or not really?
I don't know. I think that'll be hard to gauge. I just know I want to do something different, and hopefully someone will let me do it. I think the only thing I can gauge is if it was successful or not, is if I could make another thing.
Sure.
That's always that's the line.
Yeah. Oren and I were talking, off mic about, I feel like Hulu in particular, I think probably because of that Searchlight, they have like an output deal, I think, right?
Yeah.
Where it just feels like, they're dropping these cool movies for adults that have like a little bit of genre to them, like a little spin to them, like something, a unique factor in somewhere. And they're just kind of doing 6, 12 a year, something like that. Something where you're like, okay, like every once in a while, there's a new movie that I've heard something cool about and like kind of, is in that range budget wise, where again, like we used to see in like the 90s, where you'd be like, oh yeah, that's cool. And like they can break out and do something exciting and special, but aren't like mega blockbuster. It's not a Marvel movie, basically. Right? It doesn't cost $100 million or whatever.
Exactly.
And I don't know, it's very cool to be making movies like that, especially in this day and age.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in the late 80s, early 90s, going to the ShopRites and the Blockbusters and the Hollywood Videos and those places. I didn't know those films were even played in theaters, the ones that I gravitated towards. Sure. And you find those little gems and they change your life. And the fact that you're not going to go to a video rental store, but now you turn on your TV and hopefully you can find those strange little films that might inspire you to make something. That's like, it took me a long time to come around to that, but I do feel like, we're kind of in a different reality now.
Yeah. I wonder also, like, every week I'm like, do I need a movie subscription now? Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like they're like Criterion's releasing new stuff. Like there seems to be like platforms that are emerging that are kind of doing that curation for you. I was going to joke. Do you guys remember Hollywood Video had the like direct from Sundance? Like they had a little sticker.
Like a section.
Yeah. And they had a whole little section that literally changed my life. Do you know what I mean? I was like, American movie. What's this?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Straight from Sundance section.
At film school. So, I mean, same difference, right? Like, well, cool, man. That's
cool. I had just one final question about I was just like looking up your agent. You're William Morris, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm curious, just for me and for our listeners, like, your agents rep like Keanu Reeves and Michael B. Jordan and Ben Affleck and Blake Lively and like
all my best friends. Yes.
Do you no, not are they your best friends, but when you have 3 projects ready to go and you have these kind of high power Hollywood agents that rep, a ton of A-list, A-minus list, B-plus list actors, like are they helping you like use those connections, or is it not really? Is it every person for themselves?
I think if I had someone in mind, like, I wrote this with this actor in mind, they would help connect me to them for sure.
Right. In a more linear way than if you didn't have those reps.
Yes, exactly. But I don't know. I really haven't gone down that road yet. I didn't know about Michael B. Jordan. You know more than I do here.
It's called IMDb Pro,
I know. I just, what is it? An extra, $50
like
a year. I don't got that money.
Sadie Sink is at William Morris also.
That's how it happened. That's how I had just moved there. She had just moved there. We were the
orientation.
Yeah, we were at the table for the new kids.
You're like, they connected Ari.
Us. I mean, there is something about that though.
Yeah.
There is something cool of like, okay, like that you have a honeymoon period, right? You're the new person, they just signed, they really want like, the Geremy, let's, get you in on these things and blah, 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 moving and shaking. And it's like this slam dunk if another new client gets to sign on to this cool new thing. It's so wild, it's going to be on Hulu before you know it and all of that stuff.
And also like, I don't want to discount, because everyone that's listening to this interview is like, oh, I wrote songs and I wrote a movie. I should get I'll get one of the kids from Stranger Things to be in my movie. It'll be super easy. But you can't discount the fact that like, oh, well, Geremy Jasper, we love him at William Morris. You're like you have a lot of people vouching for you as a filmmaker, just being repped at these places, just obviously having the history of what you've done and all that stuff, and even your music video history, which is like Florence and the Machines. Come on, pretty cool.
They backed me, which was nice.
Yeah, well,
I was sort of out. I was in the wilderness there for a while.
Sure.
But
I guess what we're saying is like, it's easy to look at a career from the outside and be like, oh, an overnight success.
Oh yeah, no,
and like you have to have the accolades and the experience and the connections to pull off an Odessa.
The perseverance. I mean, that's the big thing. That's what I can't believe how long it took and how many no's. I mean, endless no's. It was a very, very difficult film to make, to get going, to make, to think of. And I can't do anything like this again.
Well, congrats, Jeremy.
You did it.
It exists.
There was an end. Someone
and the movie, it's coming out. Can people follow you on Instagram?
I'm not on any of that stuff. Yeah, so
if they want to find out more about the movie,
go look at it's on Hulu. That's the best way to
follow Sadie Sink on Instagram.
It's on Hulu, Disney Plus.
and there's an apostrophe in
the
Odessa.
Bundle.
Apostrophe Odessa.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So now, are you down to do an unpaid endorsement?
Sure.
Unpaid endorsements.
So my unpaid endorsement, Oren, get ready to roll your eyes, because my unpaid endorsement
pre-rolled them for you.
Is that you should never buy wine at a grocery store. You should always buy wine at a wine shop.
Oh, come on. That is the worst.
No, here's the thing. I'm not saying that you can't find a decent wine at wherever, but like, unless you literally know what wine you're going for, like you look it up on some app, or like you find, top 10 best Trader Joe's wines, all that stuff will work. But if you're just like, I need a bottle of wine, I'm going to a dinner party or whatever, you could run into your Ralph's or your Kroger or whatever, and you will spend $20, $30, $40 on something that's not going to be especially
more like
good.
19, but yeah.
Sure. Or you could spend the exact same or even less at a small business where people know what they are talking about. And most of the time they'll give you like you get a curated experience. Wine shops are about people like nerds who know everything about wine. You can tell them what you're eating, who you're drinking with, all of that stuff. And they'll be like, here's what you want to spend. They'll be like, here's the perfect bottle, and you're good to go. And it is always worth the time. And it's always a pleasure. So my endorsement is wine shops.
That one, I didn't.
No, you kind of sold me on
one.
it.
Yeah. So you have to be lucky enough to live in a city where they have a couple good wine shops, but Los Angeles is filled with them. Shout out to Haley's Wines in North Hollywood and Lou in Blissfulous.
All right.
Cool.
Jeremy. So I told you it could go.
Okay. I don't know. Guys, it's kind of got off the dome here.
Yeah.
But my family has been very into this show called Dragula. Have you guys watched Dragula?
No, I've never heard of it.
I think actually friend of the show, Carissa Dawson, shoots it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to meet her.
Drag racers?
It's horror drag, and it is extraordinary. It's like some of the best prosthetic work and fashion design that I've ever seen. And it's combined the Boulet brothers, who have created this whole kind of horror drag universe, and we've been watching it as a family since.
Is it on Shudder?
Since COVID. It's on Shudder now.
Yeah.
I think it started on Netflix. That's where we saw it in 2020, and we've just been obsessed with it. And every year a new season comes out, and like it's the Jasper family Super Bowl.
I love
watching Dragula. So I don't think it gets enough love out there. It's got a sort of a small cult following, but I highly recommend it because the art is phenomenal. It's better designed than a lot of horror movies that I see.
Yeah,
like the floor shows.
Cool. Wow. That's a great one, Jeremy.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I have two dumb ones as usual. First of all, it's just something I did not realize until this week. But did you guys know that Greenland is part of North America?
Did not know that.
Have you looked at a map? It's like touches Canada. It's like I always kind of thought it was like above Europe.
It's same
because because it's Danish,
Right.
but it actually is part of North America. It like touches. So, it's been in the news a lot. People have been talking about it. And I was like, oh, interesting. And never realized it was so close to us. That's not really an endorsement.
Is that your endorsement?
No, my endorsement is I bought a new chair. I'll talk about that maybe on a different episode, but I've been, Reddit, somehow they like know what you're into without you telling them anything. They just email me every day with like, hey, you're into chairs right now. And so you'll just start getting like people talking about posture, like how you're supposed to sit at your desk, if you want to work for 6 hours or something. And I guess, this is all obvious stuff, but just like when you start thinking about the details, like that your legs should be 90 degrees, which means like the height of your chair should be at a place where your feet touch the ground at 90 degrees. But a lot of people have desks. I'm not the tallest person and my desk is kind of tall. And so for me to sit comfortably with my arms touching the keyboard, like my seat needs to be kind of high. And so I've been sitting for like years, just like with very, very bad posture. And I'm always like leaning back and kind of doing things. And there's this subreddit where people upload photos of themselves sitting at their desks and people give them critiques.
Jesus
and
Christ.
Did you do it?
I didn't do it, but I was looking at a lot of critiques and a lot of people are like, oh, you should either lower your seat, get a keyboard tray that goes under your desk, get a shorter keyboard desk, or, and this is what I did, get a footrest. And so I got a footrest. So now my legs are 90
just
degrees.
Get a standing desk, man. Standing desks are the best.
No, but I don't want to stand.
It's great for you.
I stand enough, trust me. Ask my Apple Watch, okay? It's told me my standing is great. But anyhow, so I got a footrest and it's kind of awesome. And it's,
all right.
I love it. So desk footrest, I got one that's like kind of curved, that,
let's see. Can we get a visual on this?
Yeah, let's see. What you got?
It's got this it's round, on the side. You can stand on it, use it as like a balance board too. You can kind of just like tilt your feet, but it just kind of raises my feet like by like 3 or 4 inches.
Did you get it from Greenland?
Yeah, I walked over to Greenland, studied a lot, and I got this footrest. Now I got it on Amazon. Anyhow, so yeah, footrest if you're looking for an easy way to fix your posture. What's funny is just the box this footrest came in works just as well as the footrest. So you can split it with a friend. Well, anyway, Geremy, thanks again for coming on to the podcast. Right. It's really great talking to you. Congrats on the movie, Odessa. You can catch it on Hulu right now. And you can, if you have any questions that you want us to pass on to Geremy, any comments on the episode, if you want to pitch your own Mad Max meets A Star is Born, you can email us at justshootitpod@gmail.com. You can find us across all social media at justshootitpod. I'm on Instagram at okaplan.
And I'm at Mr. Matt Unlow. This episode was edited by Kevin O. Yang, thanks Kevin, and produced by Tyler Small. And you're listening to music provided by the Free Music Archive and the artist Jazar. Thanks everyone.
Thanks.
All right.